This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to DeluxeEditionNetwork.com. That's DeluxeEditionNetwork.com.
At the beginning?
Sure, go ahead.
That sounds great. On a train bound for nowhere, met up with a gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns.
Turns of staring.
Window at the dark.
You guys can't hear it?
A little bit. It's like going in and out.
Faint, yeah.
He said,
He said, know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run.
He was referring to
Never
folding
count
chairs in that
your
song.
money when you're sitting at the table.
Be time enough for counting when the
dealing's done. Hey, everybody, welcome to Films and Fermentation, episode 147. We're titling this one, Know When to Hold 'Em, because tonight we're going to be talking about some movies about gambling. That's right. We are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. In this episode, we'll roll the dice and bet on the best of cinema. Today, we're diving headfirst into the thrilling world of gambling movies, where the stakes are high, the tension palpable, and the odds always uncertain. So grab your popcorn and your lucky rabbit's foot as we spin the reels on our favorite flicks that make us want to double down and go all in. From the glitz and glamour of the Vegas Strip to the underground dens of card sharks, get ready for a cinematic roller coaster ride that's sure to leave you feeling like you hit the jackpot. So are you feeling lucky?
Are you pumped?
Trying to make it real compared to what sucked you to me.
In Vegas, everybody's got to watch everybody else. Since the players are looking to beat the casino, the dealers are watching the players. The boxmen are watching the dealers. The floormen are watching the boxmen. The pit bosses are watching the floormen. The shift bosses are watching the pit bosses. The casino manager is watching the shift bosses. I'm watching the casino manager. And the eye in the sky is watching us all. Plus, we had a dozen guys up there, most of them ex-cheats, who knew every trick in the house.
I love those movies about old school Vegas. Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com. You can contact us to let us know if we missed anything on the list, if there's any gambling movies that you wish we would have talked about. You can also visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation, find all of our social media and podcast links. Become part of the Films and Fermentation family by supporting us on Patreon or buying our merchandise at teespring.com. We are part of the Deluxe Edition Network, The Den. Find out more about us and the other podcasts at The Den, including our podcasts of the month, Quad Pro Quo, Steven Crypto Show, and Drink O'Clock by going to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. We'll be right back after this quick message from Coffee Brothers.
I love a good beer, but right now, I could use a good cup of coffee.
Have you heard about Coffee Brothers?
Oh, yeah. They're that coffee company out of New York, right?
Well, they're more like a coffee wizards of New York City. They source these amazing seasonal blends and single origin coffees. It's like a flavor adventure in every cup. And get this, they roast everything in small batches. None of that mass produced stuff. It's like each bean gets the VIB treatment.
VIB?
Very important bean.
Sounds fancy, but is it worth it?
Definitely. Plus, they're a two-person team. I mean, that's dedication right there. Two brothers, one mission to caffeinate the world. And right now, you can save 10% on your order. I mean, who doesn't love a good discount?
All right, you've convinced me. Let's get some Coffee Brothers now.
Coffee Brothers, where every cup is a sip of perfection. Save 10% on your next order with the code FNF10. That's FNF10. Cheers to great coffee. I might have gone a little heavy on the volume when I was editing that.
I still sound echoey, but not as bad as I was before.
I think the only reason it sounds echoey is because I think I edited the volume a little too loud. But I'll fix it. Anyway, what are we drinking this evening, gentlemen?
Alcohol.
I'll go first. I am drinking one of my favorite drinks. It's actually the drink I get whenever I go to the casino. If I'm going to know I'm going to be sitting at the table for a little while, I get myself a 7 and 7. Now, this is a little bit of a cheat. It's not a true 7 and 7. It's ginger ale mixed with some Mackenzie's bourbon in this nifty tumbler that Mike got me that says, I drink to make other people more interesting. I think you got me this, right?
Yeah.
That is an Ernest Hemingway quote. Plus, I'm still jealous of the fact that Mike had a 7 and 7 a couple weeks ago and I didn't. So, who is next?
I'll go. So we hosted Easter this year, and my brother-in-law Eli came by, and he had a couple of beers brought, fancy schmancy ones. So tonight I'm going to be trying Fiddlehead Brewing Company Mastermind Double IPA.
Oof.
So this is as part of our mission to positively impact local communities. 25% of Mastermind Double IPA sales are contributed to the Team Mastermind Fund, which provides grants to all organizations dedicated to improving pediatric health and broad community wellness. So that's nice. It's out of Shelburne, Vermont, and this baby's going to kick my butt at 8.1% alcohol by volume. And once I polish that one off, I'll be drinking a Fest beer from Stowe Style Fest beer from Von Trapp and Narragansett.
Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah, seriously. So it seems like it's a collaboration because Von Trapp Brewing and Narragansett beer are two separate things, I think. And they are out of Vermont. And this is going to be, it doesn't tell me. Oh, never mind. 5.8% alcohol by volume. So,
okay, I have two questions.
Yes.
One, you said that's called Fest beer.
Fest beer.
All right, I thought at first I thought you said best beer, and I was like, wow, they're very confident. And secondly, is the picture on the side a person holding up a mug?
Like it is a group of people with mugs and pints, it looks like.
So while you were reading off of the can, the thumbs up emoji thing kept popping up on your screen.
Oh, really?
So I think the camera was seeing the hands on the side of the can and interpreting them as the thumbs up. Because it came up a couple times while you were reading it. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. Maybe it was why your hand moved or something. I don't know.
Maybe
it was funny. Like you're reading.
Do I go weak to strong or strong to weak? Both are out of Vermont.
I say go strong to weak.
Strong to weak? Sounds good to me.
And Michael, what are you doing?
I am having a nice glass of Four Roses small batch.
Nice. Because Mike is not on call again till June.
8
You
weeks of alcoholic bliss.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Mike, anything special happened this week?
Nope. Not at all. Nothing
I'm
at all.
laughing. I'm laughing at the introduction of that just because of the last thing that we have on this year.
This week in film history. In 1926, Alfred Hitchcock releases his first film as director, The Pleasure Garden, in England. The silent drama was made in Germany.
I have to say I have never seen any of Hitchcock's early silent films, so I'd be curious to see if I could find them anywhere and check them out. What's your next one there?
1932, Grand Hotel, directed by Edmund Golding, starring Greta Garbo and John Barrymore, premieres in New York, includes the line, I want to be alone. Best production in 1932.
Yes. Again, I'm not versed in my early 30s films, so
Except I want to be alone.
I want to be alone. Except I know who Greta Garbo and John Barrymore are.
Yes.
I know a lot more about your third fact.
In 1979, Australian film Mad Max, starring Mel Gibson, directed by George Miller, is released.
Fun fact. His Australian accent is so thick in the original theatrical release that when it was released in America on VHS, it was dubbed.
Yeah.
and they more clearly spoke in English. George Miller's in his 80s, and he is currently finishing production on his next Mad Max film, Furiosa, which is the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road.
Yes.
And it's about the it's the backstory of Charlize Theron's character from Fury Road, being played by Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to it. I really like Fury Road was amazing, so I'm looking forward to seeing it. Next one, I is this an independent film?
Yeah, this is a little film,
little indie film.
Little indie film, didn't make I don't think it made a whole lot of money. Not many people saw it either. 2012, The Avengers, directed by Joss Whedon, starring Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Mark Ruffalo, and Jeremy Renner. Premieres in L.A.
Also starring Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes.
And what's his name? Loki. Why can I think of his name?
Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston. Yes. And Stellan Skarsgård.
Yes. We can keep going.
We can keep going on and on. Yes, the Avengers. Yes.
All we're missing is Kevin Bacon, and then we have great.
Yeah, we got internet bingo at that point.
He played one of the Chitauri.
Little do we know. I also have the first time you hear Josh Brolin's voice as Thanos in the Avengers film.
Was it?
Was it Josh Brolin's voice? I think it was Josh Brolin's
I don't
voice.
think that
Josh
they
Brolin was the first Thanos.
Because there is a big scene with Thanos in that film.
There is, but there's no discussion. There's no speaking on Thanos in the first Avengers.
Oh no, the first time he speaks is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Yeah, that's the first time he speaks. I'm mixing up my movies. See, there were so many of these little tiny independent films that came out in 2000. And your last fact, Mike.
O.J. Simpson.
Sorry to laugh.
Yeah, no kidding. O.J. Simpson dies at age 76 of cancer today.
Yeah. So we are recording this on Thursday, April 11th. And as of a few hours before this recording, we found out that O.J. Simpson, star of Hertz commercials, of Naked Gun films, and the trial of the 90s, passed away today from prostate
unofficial
cancer.
Spokesperson for the Bronco.
Unofficial and isotoner gloves. I saw a meme today. It said O.J. Simpson's funeral procession, and it was a white Ford Bronco hearse.
My God, it's so wrong.
Still, I told you in the pre-show, favorite comment I saw so far was, in quotes, "I didn't do it." Dash answer. Oh man, I like wasn't what didn't he try to publish a book called "I Didn't Do It," but if I did, this is how I would have.
It was, yeah, it was something along those lines, and then because for some reason it went to the family of the two people who died,
Yeah.
Nicole Brown and
The guy that she was with.
right.
Yeah.
They got the rights to the manuscript, and they added a little confessions of a murder at the very end of it.
You remember how like everybody in that fucking trial became a celebrity?
Mm-hmm.
Like Judge Ito.
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld had a
Jerry-
side character that just took off after that.
He had two. He had a Judge Ito character, and he had a character based on Cochran.
Yeah.
If the glove don't fit, you must have quit. Who was the other guy? He was like the guy that was like living at OJ's house, Keno something or another.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I remember I was working at the neighborhood pharmacy back when that trial was going on. We had the TV on, waiting for the verdict. I was at the pharmacy when it came out, and man, my boss was so pissed.
I think I had gotten home from Dorney Park that day. I had gone with the group to Dorney Park, and it was on the news, and I was just like fascinated. Wasn't that also where Mad TV's Mrs. Kwan came from? Looking like a man.
Is that really where that's from?
I thought that was one of the witnesses to the trial, and I thought Mrs. Kwan was, a mock of the witness who just described him as looking like a man.
It's possible. I don't know. I don't have that much background in it, but I remember it's where I learned what plead the fifth meant. Mike, you have any must-try beer or craft destinations for us this evening?
I must try beer for you guys tonight. It's called Scenario Robust Porter from Melvin Brewing Company, Alpine, Wyoming. Robust Porter is a hearty style with lots of black malt and not as roasty as a stout, but often just as dark. This one got espresso and hints of licorice in the nose, with smoky dark chocolate following. The flavor is bittersweet chocolate without aggressive burnt notes. I lost my place is what happened. Rather, the palate weight is velvety from the addition of oats, hops while present, and no more bitterness than the grains do. It is a 6% ABV scenario packed with a bold black beer flavor, but drinks as smooth as a nitro milk stout.
All right. That brings us to our next segment. Hopefully tonight, it's actually good news.
Beer is good. Beer is good. Beer is good. It's good. Beer is good. Beer is good. Beer is good. Let's go drink some beer.
Beer.
Last couple times we did this segment, Kevin made a liar out of me, so hopefully it's good news tonight.
I guess it depends on your interpretation of the news. I have 3 stories, 2 of which I would say are positive, and 1 is personally disappointing. So it seems as if the IPA trend is on the decline. Craft brewers are winning over new fans with lighter beers. When the weather warms up and the days get brighter, so do the beers and the people who drink them. Increasingly craft brewers are focusing their efforts on those light, refreshing beers. Dustin Brew of Brew Brothers Brewing Company in Marshall is one of those brewers. He created a lager for his mom. She doesn't like the hot
Aw.
IPAs that have become so popular in recent decades. He says their old 56 light beer, which took top honors in the 2024 Minnesota Brewers Cup Awards in the American Lager category, is something similar to what your parents would have drunk 30 years ago. So this is this is pop tea beer. This is a regular beer, as my
This is
father would like
real
to
beer.
say.
Regular beer.
Regular beer. According to them, tastes are changing. They're evolving. Lager is a type of beer that never really went out of style, but we're seeing people focus on it a little bit more. We're seeing people taking a second look at it. And most importantly, we're seeing craft brewers start to invest a little bit of time and energy into producing those lagers, knowing that they're good sellers and that they always have been. So, look, I'm not a huge IPA fan. I'm just not a big fan of light beers. I always find that the higher the ABV, the better the taste. That's my personal opinion.
I think the heavier the beers, you don't want that in the summertime. You want those light, refreshing beers.
Right.
And so I get, you don't want those heavy beers in a baseball game either. I mean, those are the things you associate beer with. Barbecue and baseball.
Wholeheartedly, yeah. I think beers are seasonal. You know, the heavier stuff is more fall and winter.
Yeah,
And spring and summer are more the summer beers, the lagers, the saisons, the Hefeweizens, stuff like that. But then my stouts and my porters and all that stuff, that's the stuff I want to have in fall and winter.
I also think the IPA thing is like starting to die out a little bit because when IPA
flooded.
Well, I think when they first came around, they were like a cheaper brew, so you can drink a couple IPAs at the bar and not make yourself broke. But now, like Mike said, as the market's gotten flooded, the price goes up as demand goes up, and so now IPAs are just as expensive as everything else.
Yeah, good point. Another article is researchers are developing methods to extract useful proteins from beer brewing leftovers. So the researchers from Nanyang Technical University in Singapore have created a method that extracts more than 80% of the available proteins in grain left over from brewing beer, commonly known as brewer's spent grain, or BSG. And that's a solid residue that's pretty much from the malted barley after brewing the beer. It makes up about 85% of the total waste that comes out of brewing beer. And globally, about 36.4 million tons of it are produced from the brewing of beer.
Yes, but it's essential. It's it's like it's recyclable. You just throw it in the garden.
Yeah. So they say right now it's repurposed for applications such as animal feed, biofuel production, composting. But some of it still ends up in landfills or and generates greenhouse gases. But what they're saying now is this protein, right? This university, this institute in Singapore is extracting more of the protein out of it to help reduce waste, and they can use that.
What are they doing with it?
Well, they're using it to produce Soylent Green. No, it's beer. Soylent Green is beer. The proteins could be used to enrich diets and even for cosmetic purposes, feeding into growing consumer preferences towards sustainability, source, and eco-friendly goods. With 66% of global consumers expressing readiness to pay premium prices for products from sustainable brands. And when I read that, I thought of Fight Club, where they take the fat that they suck out of people and they make it into soap.
The beer soap.
I'm a protein guy, but I still think I'll get it the regular way through my steaks.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I'm not a person who is readily willing to try out the impossible meats that are made out of plants. But if you told me this is an impossible meat made out of beer residue, I might give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm thinking if you make that as a seasoning or sprinkle that onto your burgers or your ribs, you know,
Or even if you want to tell me this is a meat-free beer burger, I might be willing to give it a shot.
They're saying the proteins are safe for human consumption and are of a very high quality, making them suitable for direct use in supplements and for enhancing the protein content of plant-based food, which is what Leo was just saying.
How about like a protein, like a beer protein, like weight loss shake? Instead of like a whey protein shake, you got a beer protein shake.
They're also claiming that this could help mitigate the possible protein shortage, which is forecasted by the year 2050, with a 73% increase in meat consumption by the year 2050. That this could help kind of level that,
What popped in my head when you said that the protein that we're going to be running out of protein by 2050 is Wally popped in my head, and we were like, we're all going to be fat because all that's left is carbs by 2050.
So that's a little bit of good news. One more story. If anyone's traveling down to Tampa, going to celebrate SeaWorld's 60th anniversary, and you are of the age of 21 or older, starting Friday on April 12th, the theme park is going to offer guests one complimentary 7-ounce beer at their Waterway Grill patio. And if you are a SeaWorld Pass member, you can get 2 free 7-ounce beers per day.
Two 7-ounce beers.
Just so you know, it is sponsored by Budweiser.
Anheuser-Busch.
Anheuser-Busch. You know what you get.
Anheuser-Busch.
You're getting piss.
I got piss in a glass and get the same effect. Yeah,
you're getting Clydesdale piss. Okay, get it right. They get it from the horse.
So
it's running through till May 19th. So if you're on your way down, feel free to check it out. And that's all the beer news I have for you. 2 good articles and one kind of like.
Get the free 7-ounce beer and all the whale abuse you can handle.
I don't know if getting people drunk at a aquatic-based theme park is a great idea. You'll have people humping dolphins in the
where it's 120 degrees on a good day.
Exactly.
People are going to be asking where the Jurassic World attractions are. So that was beer news is good news. Beer news is good to you. Good. Oh my God. It's been 2 weeks. I'm out of practice. Beer news is good news is brought to you by Newsly.me. Newsly.me is an audio super app for iOS and Android that brings news to you in a natural human voice. Stop scrolling. Start listening. Go to Newsly.me today and use the promo code ADINFORMENT. Get your first month premium subscription for free. So I don't really have any notes from the last show. This was a while ago since we did the last show. All I have a note for is, hey, everybody out there. I know I posted this on social media already. I'll be posting it again. We have a little change in the date. We originally said Monday, May 6th, but it's going to be Tuesday, May 7th. We'll be having our episode 150 live. Films and Fermentation live. I'll be putting out the link for that at a future date so you can join us in the chat and be with us as we celebrate Star Wars Day. This year, for our live 150th episode, our Star Wars Day celebration, we're going to be returning to a previous segment we had done before called Filling in the Plot Holes, except this time around, all of the plot holes are going to be Star Wars based.
We also call this the Dave Fillion Idea Bunch.
What was that?
This is also the Dave Fillion Idea episode.
The Dave Filoni episodes. So it'll be the Star Wars edition of Filling in the Plot Holes. We talk about the movies, the TV shows, the animated series, and whatnot. And
we pretty much focus on Solo.
Yeah, so it's going to be about Solo. It's all going to be about Rise of Skywalker.
Somehow Palpatine has returned.
The greatest line reading in the history of cinema. Palpatine has returned. Good Lord. So yes, make sure you join us Tuesday, May 7th, 7:30 Eastern Time, at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, for episode 150 live, filling in the Star Wars plot holes. We'll be right back after these quick promos from some of our Den friends.
The Deluxe Edition Network, also known as The Den, is an incredible podcast network that offers a wide variety of entertaining and informative podcasts.
With a lineup of shows covering various topics, such as interviews with a wide variety of guests, history, music, relationships, true crime, and so much more. The Den provides content that caters to a diverse range of interests.
The hosts and guests on the Deluxe Edition Network demonstrate a deep passion and expertise in their respective fields, making each episode on each show engaging and thought-provoking.
The network fosters a sense of community by encouraging listeners to interact through live chats, social media, and forums, creating an inclusive environment for discussion and sharing opinions.
With its commitment to high-quality production, the shows in the Deluxe Edition Network continue to captivate and entertain its ever-growing audience.
Whether you're a podcast enthusiast or someone looking to explore new topics, The Den is a fantastic platform to dive into and uncover fascinating insights from experts in their fields.
The Deluxe Edition Network is the home of independent awesomeness.
To find all these great podcasts in one convenient location, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to Quad Pro Quo. Right now, you are probably thinking to yourself, oh great, another movie podcast. Well, dear listener, you would be right. But throw in a couple of marriages, decades-long friendships, and a shared property line, and you have just another movie podcast with a shitload of drama. Inspired by the iconic quid pro quo scene in Silence of the Lambs, each week, one of us will pick a movie. It could be a childhood favorite, a classic film noir, an Academy Award winner, or a complete dumpster fire that brings joy to that person's heart. The selector's objective? To get us to love, or at the very least, not hate their pick. Will our marriages, our friendships, and our neighborhood survive? Find out each Thursday on Quad Pro Quo.
We are back from that short break. You heard promos from the Deluxe Edition Network, as well as Podcast of the Month, Quad Pro Quo. Don't forget, we have two other podcasts of the month this month as well. They are the Drink O'Clock podcast and the Steve and Crypto podcast. We'd also like to say welcome to the newest member of the Deluxe Edition Network, Morgan Gray, who hosts her own podcast called Afrocentric. Please welcome them to the Deluxe Edition Network. Our main segment this evening, we are going to be looking at our favorite gambling films. For this, we made it easy on ourselves. Like, we could have did movies that were only about casinos or movies that were only about poker or whatnot. But we just went with movies about gambling in general and gambling in all of its forms. For this list, we each picked 5 movies that we all generally consider good films that we enjoy watching. And in keeping with the theme of gambling, each one of us has a wild card pick as well. The wild card pick could be anything: TV show, song, movie, scene from a movie, comic book, novel, maybe a funny anecdote you have about your own gambling experience. It doesn't matter. That's our wild card pick for this evening. So each of us has 5 movies we chose plus a wild card. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, go for it, Mike.
Because when you think gambling, you think of Kenny Rogers and the Gambler.
I mean, you're from the South. I'm sure that's what you think. I grew up in Philadelphia. I think Atlantic City.
Go ahead. So the Gambler by Kenny Rogers. Let me bring up. Oh boy, I didn't bring up the synopsis.
Do you need a synopsis? I'm sure you've seen this movie a few times.
It's actually been a while since I've seen it.
Let me
Not
ask,
to be-
does
not
he
to be
gamble?
Yeah. So The Gambler with Kenny Rogers is a 1980 TV movie, not to be confused with the 1974 Gambler film starring James Caan or the 2014 Gambler film starring Mark Wahlberg.
Right.
This is the adventure of Brady Hawks, a gambler on his way to help his young son while also helping another gambler learn to play it right.
Well, you read that straight from IMDb.
Yes, that was the IMDb synopsis.
Yep. It's the first of like 6 that he did.
I was gonna say, and they're like a gambler rides again, and a gambler something else, and
Yeah, and like the fifth one had
Gambler
Reba in it.
loses his shirt.
yeah.
Uh,
You talk about it. I'm gonna look up the other ones.
the storyline is that Brady Hawks, the gambler, receives a letter from his son indicating he needs help. This sends Brady to the rescue. Along the way, Brady meets up with Billy Montana, played by Bruce Boxleitner.
Bruce Lee? Who?
Boxleitner.
Oh, okay.
You know, the one from Scarecrow and Mrs. King. Babylon 5.
I love it. That's what you go through for Bruce Boxleitner. So go ahead. I'm still looking up the gambler films. There's a lot of them.
A young man who thinks he knows everything about playing cards. Brady teaches Billy a few lessons along the way and end up forming a strong friendship and teaming up together. A few quotes in the movie that are pretty good. Let's see what we got. I've gambled a lot of towns. I've read a lot of faces. Gambling can make a whole of a man. You got to be able to walk away from it. Of course, that's part of the
That's,
song.
of course, the famous song, "The Gambler," which is the song came first, I think, right?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. The song's much older.
So here you go, Mike. It's The Gambler, which came out in 1980.
Yep.
Followed by The Gambler, The Adventure Continues in 1983. Followed by The Gambler Part 3, The Legend Continues in 1987. Followed by The Gambler Returns, The Luck of the Draw, 1991.
That one has Reba.
And the last one is The Gambler 5, Playing for Keeps in 1994.
Yep.
I think that's all of them. I don't think I missed any ones.
No.
Well, there's a music video called Coolio the Hustler featuring Kenny Rogers. And Kenny Rogers collaborated with Coolio.
Well, hey, Dolly collaborated with Pitbull, so it's that kind of world now.
I know. Apparently Beyonce's a country singer now too. So, oh man, Kenny, I'm looking at the picture of him later in life where he looked like his own wax figure.
Yeah, he went too much into the plastic surgery. Too much.
He looks like a walking Madame Tussauds statue.
I used to like his restaurants, though. Wait, did Kenny Rogers have any restaurants?
I think. I don't know. Did he have a restaurant? What was his restaurant?
He didn't have a chicken restaurant, did
I
he?
have no clue.
I got to look it up now because I have no idea if you're fucking with me right now.
Neither do I. I don't think so.
For some reason, I'm remembering a Kenny Rogers chicken restaurant.
I'm looking it up. Kenny Rogers Roasters.
There we go.
It was created it was a chicken-based chain restaurant founded in 91 by Kenny Rogers and former KFC CEO John Brown.
You gotta know when to
When to
fry 'em,
hold-
know when to grill them, know when to put them
Oh,
in a
now this is
casserole.
your
The company entered Chapter 11 bankruptcy in March 1998, and was bought out by Nathan's Famous Hot Dogs.
Yeah, so the Gambler's your typical TV movie, you know.
That has
But
5 sequels.
yeah, and I enjoy the original. Last time I watched it.
So Kevin, why don't
Who
you
wants
go
to
next
go?
with your first one?
Sure. My first one came out in 2008. It is the movie 21. It is inspired by real events and people. 21 is about 6 MIT students who become trained to be experts in card counting in blackjack and subsequently took Vegas casinos for millions in the winnings. It stars Jim Sturgis, who, to be honest with you, the only other movie I can recall him being in was Across the Universe, in which he did a very good job. Kate Bosworth, Kevin Spacey before he was blacklisted, and the only other real notable name would be Lawrence Fishburne, who played one of the casino bosses, who was familiar with.
You also have a very early appearance from Josh Gad.
Josh Gad, I was going to mention him in just a bit, but yeah, he pops in there as well. So this apparently happened back in 1978, or I'm sorry, 1979, and in 1994. MIT had at one point 80 players on the original MIT team, which is crazy to think that that happened. To which most of the characters that the film was based upon were Asian. And the controversy was, why weren't they being portrayed by Asian actors? Let's see.
There are 2 Asian actors in the cast.
There are 2 Asian actors in the cast.
But it's not, like you said, like the majority of the characters were based on Asian people, including Jim Sturgis' character, Kate Bosworth's character. Now, I like you. The only other thing I know Jim Sturgis from was Across the Universe. So I had watched this film just basically because I'm like, well, I've seen this guy in only one other thing.
Yeah.
And then like I haven't really seen him in anything else since then. And this was 2008, so this was well after Kevin Spacey had won his 2 Oscars, and before doing House of Cards.
Before the blacklist, before what happened.
Yeah, it was a couple years after this. He did House of Cards on Netflix, and then the whole controversy stuff started.
Apparently, some of the team members, the original team members, did go out with the cast members to kind of prep them, I guess, for research or whatever when doing the movie. And though the original players weren't able to play, they watched the cast members play and tipped them. So every time they wanted Kevin Spacey to up his bet, they would push up against his chair. And Kevin Spacey was known to have said, "I would win every time." So,
wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
So my first choice, I think, is an obvious choice when you're talking about movies that take place in Vegas, that take place in casinos, that deal with gambling. And for the most part, this movie is really a heist film, but it has a lot to do with heisting of casinos in Vegas, and that is Ocean's 11. Now, I'm talking about the Clooney, Damon, Brad Pitt, Julia Roberts Ocean's 11, not the original one with the Rat Pack, although that is also a good film, just a much different film. It's one of the few reboots I think is better than the original. And so my first choice is Ocean's 11, which I know I've talked about a lot before. But it's a fun film, highly quotable film. And oddly enough, it's not really so much a film about gambling in the casino itself as it is gambling on your ability to rob a casino. But it does have a great, one of my favorite scenes in the film is when they go to Elliot Gould as their backer, try to get money for the operation. And they're telling him like they're pretty sure they can get away with it. And he's like, oh, why am I doubting you guys? You guys are professionals. Of course you know what you're doing. You'll get the money. Of course, lest you forget, once you get out of the casino, you're still in the middle of the fucking desert. Just it's a really just. I can't say enough about how much fun I have watching this film.
Mm-hmm.
Even now, like I've seen it a million times. Like it's still a fun film to watch. But if you want a film in the Ocean's trilogy that's more about the gambling, Ocean's 13 is actually the more gambling centric film. Because it's about them rigging a casino to rob it instead of robbing the actual casino's like vault. They rig the games in order to rob them of the money. So that is my first choice for a gambling film. Yeah, I actually originally had the Ocean's trilogy down there, but I was like, I'm not going to be greedy. Especially since the second one really isn't about casinos or gambling or anything like that. It's more like a version of the Thomas Crown Affair, if anything.
So you didn't go all in then? That's what you're saying?
No, I didn't go all in on that one. Just picked one. So, Mike, what's your second one?
This one I did go all in with the cast, definitely. I'm going with Maverick.
Now, are we talking TV show?
Nope, we're talking movie based off the TV show.
Oddly enough, starring the guy that was in the TV show.
Yes, well, playing the same character, more or less. This stars Mel Gibson, Jodie Foster, James Gardner, Graham Greene, Alfred Molina, James Corbin, Clint Black's in it. A lot of cameos. Danny Glover does a cameo. A lot of cameos.
It's a stacked.
It's a really good movie. It's a good movie.
Good movie. Stacked cast.
Good movie. Stacked cast. It was directed by Richard Donner. Brett Maverick needs money for a poker tournament, faces various comic mishaps and challenges, including a charming woman thief. And Jodie Foster always looks hot.
So, I don't know much about the TV show. I never really watched it. But I went to the theater to see this film because of Jodie Foster. Because I think this was her follow up to Silence of the Lambs.
Mm-hmm.
And after Silence of the Lambs, I was like, all my Vegas, bets were all in on Jodie Foster. So
the television show it's about two brothers of gamblers, the two the Mavericks, Brett and Bart, and it's a Western television series about gamblers instead of lawmen, but doing the same damn shit.
Yeah. I know it was a show that my dad always talked about. He used to watch all like the Westerns when he was a kid. Because it was a 50s PV program.
Mm-hmm. There is a goof in the movie they have here.
What's that?
Annabelle, who Jodie Foster plays, gives a dealer $1,000 chip in the poker tournament before the final table. This is common in a cash game in which money is won after each hand. Unlike cash games, however, tournament chips have no money value and cannot be exchanged for cash. So
they're not playing at a casino.
Yeah.
Was this on like a riverboat or something?
It was on a riverboat. Yeah.
$1,000 chip.
That meant nothing.
Meant nothing. That's a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
That's funny. I don't have it on my list, but it made me think of something. The Casino Royale film with Daniel Craig as James Bond.
Yep.
So it's Daniel Craig's first film, and it ends with this big poker tournament scene with him facing off against Matt Mikkelsen. And the only thing I remember from that like I just was like, God, I wish I'm rich enough one day to do this. They place $1 million bets, and the $1 million chip is like a rectangle. Like a big rectangle that represents the $1 million chip, and I thought it was like the coolest thing. And I'm like, God damn! I hope I'm rich enough one day to bet $1 million chip. So, you have anything else to add about Maverick, Mike?
Nah, it's a good movie. I enjoy it. Great soundtrack. Jodie Foster's awesome in it.
Yeah, I was all in on Jodie Foster. Kev, what's your second one?
My second one is actually more, I guess you'd say more mob than gambling, but the two kind of go hand in hand from time to time, if you're unaware. Mine's Bugsy from, what year was this? This was 1991, starring Warren Beatty, Annette Bening. This may have actually been the movie that had the two of them together, like brought them together because they're married, right?
Yes.
Also stars Harvey Keitel, Ben Kingsley, Elliot Gould. Oh, look, he made another appearance. BB Newworth.
Joe Mantegna.
Yeah.
I'm looking on here. A lot of
And quite a few people. Robert Beltran from Star Trek Voyager.
Mm.
You know. And essentially it's New York gangster Ben Bugsy Siegel takes a brief business trip to Los Angeles. A sharp-dressing womanizer with a foul temper, Siegel doesn't hesitate to kill or maim anyone crossing him. In L.A., the movies, and most of all, strong-willed Virginia Hill detain him while his family are waiting for him back home. Then a trip to a rundown gambling joint at a spot in the desert known as Las Vegas gives him a big idea. So all of the movies we're talking about, with the exception of The Gambler and with the exception of Maverick, owe it to Bugsy for doing what he did.
I was actually going to say that, like, yeah, if it wasn't for Bugsy Malone starting, the trend of building casinos in Las Vegas, we might not even have this episode.
We might not have this
episode. These movies about gambling also can owe it to him too. So
we might not know that Mo Green is not people.
Mo Green is kind of like loosely based on Bugsy Siegel. Bugsy Siegel was friends with I can't think of the gangster's name, but he was like he's the character in Godfather Part 2 that is living in Cuba is based on him.
Fredo.
No,
Fredo Corleone.
Not Fredo Corleone. I can't think of the guy's name, but I'll think of it later, I'm sure. Oh, you know what? Ben Kingsley plays him in this movie. Hold on. Meyer Lansky. I forgot. Yeah, Ben Kingsley plays him in this film. This movie got a lot of Oscar nominations.
Yeah.
It's kind of slow paced, I think. It's more about his relationship with Annette Bening's character and the building of the casinos. And it is a lot about like his early life as a gangster. He was a psychotic man, which is why they called him Bugsy. But yeah, it's not a bad film. It's just, I feel like there are other movies that cover his life story a little bit better, but it is
like
an important or like mobsters or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's a movie, but it is a movie about, the importance of his involvement in Las Vegas, because it wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for him. We move from Las Vegas to the underground world of poker tournaments in my next film, Rounders, starring Ed Norton. It basically is the Fight Club of poker films. So I had not seen this when it came out in the 90s. It came out in 1998. It's kind of like a follow-up to Good Will Hunting. Matt Damon was hot property at this time. Ed Norton was coming off of Fight Club. He was coming off of Primal Fear. So, they were all hot commodities at the time. It co-stars Gretchen Mol as Matt Damon's girlfriend. John Malkovich is in it as a Russian mobster with the most ludicrous Russian accent I have ever heard in a film. John Turturro is in it. It's a really fun movie. I had never seen it. I didn't see it when it came out. I watched it on a recommendation from another podcast who was talking about it recently, and I have to say it was a very fun movie. Matt Damon plays a reformed gambler whose best friend's in prison for his money schemes. The best friend is played by Ed Norton. When he gets out of prison, he talks him into like going into these high stakes like underground poker tournaments where they basically are running cons and stealing people's money by cheating at the game and stuff. All throughout the movie, though, is Matt Damon is trying to hone his skills because he would like to one day enter the Texas Hold'em tournament in Las Vegas. Like that's his ultimate goal in the film. But in the meantime, he has to figure out a way to raise enough money to pay off John Malkovich's character, who he owes $60,000 to. It sounds like a convoluted film. It's a lot more straightforward than I'm describing it to be. But it's really fun. It's a very, very fun film, and the poker scenes are really cool. Watching them, the little tricks that they do to try to cheat people and count cards and stuff like that. So an odd miss for me for films from the 90s that I had not seen. That I've only watched recently. Mike, what's your third one there?
Well, you were talking about how Bugsy has a lot of Oscar wins, nominations, and everything. Mine, let me list my third one's nominations and wins.
Yes, sir.
Best music score, original song score and adaptation, winner. Best film editing, nominee. Best sound, winner. Best costume design, winner. Best art direction, set decoration, nominee. Best cinematography, winner. Best writing, story, and screenplay based on factual material or not previously published or produced, winner. Best director, nominee. Best actor in a leading role, winner. Best picture, 1974. This is the classic, The Sting.
Okay.
I mean, it's a lot. Okay. It's a lot going on there.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm making a joke, but yes, it is a classic.
Mm-hmm. We were actually talking before the show about Robert Redford and Paul Newman and how it's impossible they only did 2 movies together.
I know. Go ahead, Mike.
It's directed by George Roy Hill, starring Paul Newman and Robert Redford. Also Robert Shaw and Charles During, Elaine Berman, Jay Walston. This is more. While it is a gambling movie, it's a con movie, more of a con movie that involves gambling, kind of like on the same basis as Ocean's 11. Not they're stealing something, but they're conning people out of the money.
Mm-hmm. Good period piece.
Plots. Period. It's definitely a period piece. Oh yeah, this is 1930s, 1936. I think it's where it is what it does. John Hooker, a small-time grifter, unknowingly steals from Doyle Logan, a big-time crime boss. When he pulls the standard street con, Logan demands satisfaction for the insult. After his partner Luther is killed, Hooker flees and seeks the help of Henry Gondorf, one of Luther's contacts, who is the master of the long con. And they, con the bad guys.
I know they use what's the Joplin song, "The Entertainer," for their theme.
That's the theme. I did.
Kind of how you place it that way. Here's an interesting thing. So we were talking about, we can't believe they didn't do more movies together, right? So they did Butch Cassidy and a Sundance Kid in 1969. In 1970, it's nominated for Best Picture and Best Oscar and nominated for Best Director for George Roy Hill, who won the Oscar for The Sting, which also won the Best Picture Oscar. Both movies starring Redford and Newman. You would think 2 movies nominated for Best Picture and Best Director starring the same 2 actors who were both nominated for their roles in each film, you would do more films with those guys. It's so fascinating that they only did these 2 movies together. So The Sting. And this weekend you're going to get your wife to watch it, right?
Yes, she told me I had to sit down with. I almost fell. So it looks like it's on Netflix for free. So I guess I'll be watching Netflix this weekend.
Kev, what's your third one there?
Yes, we. I, she told me I had to sit down with. I almost fell. So it looks like it's on Netflix for free. So I guess I'll be watching Netflix this weekend.
Uh, Kev, what's your third one there?
Well, Mike, I see your sting, and I raise you a Rain Man. Rain Man having won the Best Picture in 1989, Best Actor in a Leading Role for Dustin Hoffman in 1989, Best Director for Barry Levinson in 1989, Best Cinematography, Best Writing of a Screenplay or written directly for the screen, Best Art Direction, Best Film Editing, and Best Music. And this was Hans Zimmer, which was one of the first ones I know of him doing. Besides Backdraft, right? I like Hans Zimmer as a composer, so Rain Man up there is. Now I hesitated putting this on my list because I don't feel it's truly a gambling movie. There's a gambling scene, there's a gambling, part to it. But for the most part, it's two brothers who are estranged from each other, realizing, how to be brothers, I guess. So the synopsis is after a selfish LA yuppie learns his estranged father left a fortune to an autistic savant brother in Ohio that he didn't know existed, he absconds with his brother and sets out across the country hoping to gain a larger inheritance. So he takes Dustin Hoffman's character, who is Rain Man, who is the autistic brother,
Kidnaps him.
Kidnaps him, yeah, essentially kidnaps him. And he wants the money. He wants to get to know his brother. He wants the money from his father's passing. But when he realizes his brother has a talent, I guess you could say, counting cards, he gussies him up, combs his hair, and takes him onto the Vegas floor. So yeah, Rain Man, starring Dustin Hoffman and a little-known actor known as Tom Cruise, and Valeria Golino. This was one of her movies in the 80s. This and Hot Shots.
So do you know that originally Cruise and Hoffman auditioned for the opposite roles?
Really? No, that
Cruise auditioned for the Ray character and Hoffman for Cruise's character. And it was the director's decision to have them read for the opposite roles and, history from there because they're obviously better in the two roles that they're playing. I can't imagine Cruise as the autistic brother. So you guys win. You guys win this hand. I don't have anything on my list that's won Oscars. All my films on my list are films that I enjoy, that I really like watching, that I think are good movies, but none of them were good enough to win Oscars. So the third one on my list has only one Oscar nomination. It's for Best Adapted Screenplay for Alan Sorkin, but it's Molly's Game, starring Jessica Chastain. I have professed a love for Jessica Chastain in the past because I love redheads, and she is a gorgeous redhead.
Mm-hmm.
And she is at her, and this isn't really the reason you should watch the film. It's a good film, well acted anyway, but she is at her hottest in this movie. She is extremely, extremely attractive in this movie.
She
and
organize the games in hotel rooms and such?
And I was going to say that's part of the reason for the attractiveness is she makes herself up to be this unattainable, rare beauty in order to attract some of these men into these high profile games that she holds. So it's based on a true story. It's about a woman named Molly Bloom, who was a young Olympic skier who was injured and unable to ski again afterwards due to the injury. She goes on to run the world's most exclusive high stakes poker game for over a decade before being arrested by the FBI. Because she finds out later that her players included Hollywood royalty, sports stars, business titans, and then unbeknownst to her, the Russian mob. And then that's where the FBI gets involved. Her only ally after she is arrested is her criminal defense lawyer, Charles Jaffe, who's played by Idris Elba in the film, who learns that there's more to Molly than the tabloids lead us to believe. And so a good portion of the film is her defending herself in court, and a lot of the testimony in court plays, flashes back to incidents with her at the poker games and people that she deals with, and There's an interesting little cameo in it from Michael Cera, who is not playing a Michael Cera type character. He is playing the most high profile like actor who comes to her games, but you never learn who the actor actually is. They refer to him as Player X. Like I said, Idris Elba's in the film as well, and Kevin Costner's in it. He plays Molly's father, who was like a very like pushy, father, like pushed her into like the sports and things like that. You also have Jeremy Strong, who was on the TV show Succession, Chris O'Dowd from the IT Crowd, Graham Greene again, who makes another appearance on our list. It's a good film. A little long, like again, I always complain about the length of films, but it makes up for it by placing Jessica Chastain in a very attractive light. So I have no Oscar winners on my list, but I do have some fun films.
That's a good film. I enjoyed that film a lot.
Yeah,
it was like a sleeper too, because you didn't hear much chatter about it. It just kind of came, and I think we saw it on Netflix.
Yeah, I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it on streaming later, but it did fairly well in the theater. It was coming off of her Oscar nomination for Zero Dark 30, so it kind of had a little bit of like her popularity going into it.
COVID times, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't when did it come out. It came out in 2017.
Oh,
so,
never mind.
Yeah, so prior to that. Mike, what's your fourth movie?
My fourth movie is the 1988 Eight Men Out, which I thought is an underrated movie.
It's also an alternative to the whole Vegas, scene and that type of gambling.
It's it is the story of the Chicago Black Sox scandal when the underpaid Chicago White Sox accept bribes to deliberately lose the 1919 World Series. Starring John Cusack, Clifton James, Don Harvey, D.B. Sweeney's in it, John Mahoney, Michael Rooker, Charlie Sheen, David Strathairn. I mean, it's got a cast.
It's got
a who's who, man.
Yeah.
And I think this movie also kind of hit theaters and then died out. And didn't get at the pub that I thought it should have. Directed by John Sayles. Sayles.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a really good mix of baseball gambling and getting people to. I don't think a lot of people knew about or know about the Black Sox.
It's the inspiration for Pete Rose.
For Pete Rose getting into gambling, yeah. Unsuccessfully. Hey, Mike, Pete Rose was inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame and still wasn't inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that. Yep.
Yeah, I like this movie a lot. 8 Men Out is a really good movie.
Really good.
We had already talked about it a little bit on one of our previous baseball episodes as well.
Yep. So since we did that, I'm going to move on to Kevin. We don't need to go too much into it.
Kevin's fourth one is only on the list because I would say it's satire of Rain Man, right?
It's the three best friends that anyone
ever has.
The three best friends that anyone could have.
I used to be a lone wolf pack, but now I have others in my wolf.
Excuse me, did Caesar really stay here?
My beeper get a signal in here?
The satchel. If you can't tell from the quotes, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about The Hangover from 2009, starring Ben Kingsley and
Ben Kingsley. I thought you were serious for a second.
Zach Galifianakis, Bradley Cooper, Andy from The Office. I can't even. Ed Helms. Ed Helms. Justin Bartha, and my personal favorite, Heather Graham.
And Mike Tyson.
And Ken Jeong. Ken Jeong was in his
movie that introduced us to Ken Jeong.
Yes.
Dr. Ken Jeong.
Dr. Ken Jeong.
Dr. Jeong. The movie is about a bachelor party in Vegas that happens, and like the best kinds of bachelor parties, everybody wakes up the next day and has no memory of the previous night. and the Bachelor goes missing. And antics ensue around
I'm
Las
laughing
Vegas.
to myself because I'm remembering other quotes as you're describing the movie. She had my grandmother's Holocaust ring. They gave out rings at the Holocaust?
Oi.
I think this movie reignited the interest in Phil Collins in the Air Tonight.
Yeah. You took a punch from the champ. Oh my god. Tigers in the bathroom.
Tigers in the bathroom. He finds the baby and puts it on.
Carlos. His name's Tyler. He'll always be Carlos to me, bud. See, he's got the baby at the table and he makes it look like he's jerking off.
Ed Helms and Zach Galifianakis' songs, Stu's song, and Three Best Friends were both improvised.
the Stu's song about finding their friend is awesome. Like that's such a great improvised song. I will say this, guy. Like I don't know if this film probably doesn't hold up real well if you watch it nowadays. There's a lot of like questionable things in it. But you and I saw this in the theater in Ocean City, Maryland, on a very rainy day.
Yes, we did.
And
our wives went to see, or no, I'm sorry, the people we were with went to. Your wife,
my wife,
the person I was seeing at the time went to see Eat, Pray, Love.
Yeah.
We definitely made the better choice.
It was one of the funniest films I have ever seen in the theater. I laughed so hard that like I missed jokes. Especially at the end when you get to see the roll of film at the end.
Oh yeah.
Let's look at this one time and erase it and never talk about it again.
Never talk about it again.
Oh man, it was such a fun first watch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I watch it now. There's still some things that make me laugh. Like it's mostly Zach Galifianakis that makes me laugh in it, but it was such a fun film to watch the first time around. So from one comedy to another, my next movie is Casino.
What the fuck? What the fuck is this shit?
Fucking motherfucker! I just popped your fucking eye out, you fuck motherfucker. So I was surprised in looking this up earlier that it only had one Oscar nomination. I thought it would have had at least maybe screenplay or something like that. Its only nomination was for Sharon Stone for Best Actress. So Casino is another Scorsese, based on a true story about the downfall of a man in the mob, about a guy named Ace Rothstein, played by De Niro, who is sent to Vegas to take control of a mob-owned casino. When things get too out of hand, Nicky Santoro, played by Joe Pesci, is sent to help him handle the situation, playing a character very much like his Tommy DeVito character in Goodfellas. Robert De Niro falls in love with Sharon Stone's character, Ginger McKenna, who is a junkie, who is involved with this guy played by James Woods, who she's still involved with throughout her life, even though he's a loser. And a lot of other cameos in the film. You got Kevin Pollak, Dick Smothers, Frank Vincent. What's his name? Don Rickles plays the casino manager in the film. Alan King's in it. It's a typical Scorsese, rise and fall of a powerful man in a seedy world kind of film. But goddamn, it's still an entertaining film. And that little clip I played at the beginning about who's watching who in a casino comes from the film Casino. Again, I'm shocked that this did not get any Oscars. It's also 2 hours and 58 minutes.
Oh wow.
But the thing about those Scorsese films like this and Goodfellas is even though they're 3 hours, he always paces his films really well. So they kind of fly pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I got to say about that.
Well,
Mike, what you got to say, Mike?
I'll see your Scorsese film and give you my Scorsese film.
Go for it.
With Newman and Tom Cruise. It's The Color of Money.
The Color of Money.
Yes.
What color is money?
Dirty.
Dirty money.
Dirty money.
That's the thing. Is that doesn't translate well in other countries because
Fast Eddie teaches a cocky but immensely talented protege the ropes of pool hustling, which in turn inspires him to make an unlikely comeback. Martin Scorsese directed, Paul Newman and Tom Cruise stars in, and it is your classic hustling games of pool movie.
So
Not that there's a lot of them out there.
I got an interesting fact about this.
Go ahead.
Paul Newman won the Oscar for Best Actor in a leading role for this film, playing the character that he originated in the film The Hustler in the 60s. So this is like a legacy sequel because it came out like 30 years, 20 years, whatever it is after the original film. He's the only actor in the history of the Academy Awards to win the Oscar for playing his character in a sequel and not in the original film. He was nominated for The Hustler but did not win.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
His only Oscar win too. Is odd because it's Paul Newman. Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio got a supporting actress nomination for this. She was Tom Cruise's love interest in the film.
Yes, he did.
Wasn't she also the love interest of his in The Firm?
Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio?
I think so.
I think it was it's Jean Triplehorn.
Oh, right. I get
she's the one that's in Waterworld.
Right. Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio is in The Abyss, right?
She was in The Abyss and she was in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Right.
As Maid Marian. Yeah, it's a good film. I love the last scene where it's like kind of like
it is a very young Tom Cruise too.
It's a very young Tom Cruise. This is Tom Cruise. What's this? 1986. So this is Tom Cruise right after The Outsiders.
Kokomo.
Yeah, this is after The Outsiders, but before Cocktail. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been right around the time that he did Risky Business.
Yep. It would be after. Also after, I think it's right after Any Which Way But Loose. Not anyway,
All the Right Moves.
All the Right Moves. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like around. This is like the ascendancy of Tom Cruise.
Yep.
At this time, yeah, this is a good movie, man. I actually think this is. I enjoy the sequel more than I did the original film, The Hustler. Just I think it's just because it's like an '80s film.
Yeah, it's got that '80s vibe,
that 80s flair to it. It's got a great ending too, with them like kind of facing off in that final tournament, and
yeah. Until I looked it up, I didn't even realize it was a Scorsese film.
I didn't know either. Yeah, I mean I knew, but I didn't. It's like one that I forget because it's like such an odd film to kind of come out of it.
Out of it, yep.
It almost feels like a. Like if this was later in Cruise's career, it would have been like I have to do a film with Scorsese kind of film.
Yeah.
But this is like weird that it's just like so early in his career. Martin Scorsese. So, Kev, what is your fifth film?
I'm cheating a little bit. I changed a card.
You changed
it. I changed it.
Yeah, he just took one from the bottom of the deck.
My next one, I do remember seeing this, but it's been a long time and I'd have to find it again to watch it. It's a Richard Dreyfuss classic from 1989 called Let It Ride, where a nosy cab driver gets a hot tip on a racehorse and wins big, but he can't seem to stop gambling. Will he go broke or walk home with a pretty penny? This stars Richard Dreyfuss, Terry Garr, Buster Poindexter, otherwise known as David Johansen.
You like your Buster Poindexter films, don't you?
I do, man. I really do. Jennifer Tilly. It even has, I want to say it has, what's his name from? Robbie Coltrane. Yes, it has
Hagrid
in it. Yes. And it's got Michelle Phillips from The Mamas and the Papas, but not as Michelle Phillips. I do remember this. It is a comedy. It's Richard Dreyfuss betting on horses. It's got a very young Cynthia Nixon in it as well. Yeah, PG-13. All the typical tropes. Jennifer Tilly being just eye candy.
What was the
Great
film you
food.
originally had on the list that you replaced this for?
Indecent Proposal. Which, I mean, this is more of a gambling movie than Indecent Proposal.
Yeah, Indecent Proposal is more like we're gonna gamble to try to win the money we need, but then this guy says he's gonna give us $1 million to fuck Demi Moore, and we say yes.
Yes.
So the writer of this film is Nancy Dowd. I want to just let you know she wrote one of my other favorite films, Slapshot, also with Paul Newman.
Oh.
She wrote North Dallas 40 with Nick Nolte. And she wrote a movie that we once talked about on Films That Time Forgot. A little film called Cloak and Dagger.
I think that was my pick.
That
It
was
your
your
pick.
It was.
So you have a little consistency here. You have two movies
Yeah.
that Nancy Dowd wrote on lists here. Even though this was a last minute change.
This is a film adaptation from a Jay Conley novel. There were 3 of them that happened. Oh, these were all. I liked all 3 of these movies. The other adaptations were Funny Farm from 1988 with Chevy Chase, and Quick Change from 1990 with Bill Murray and Gina Davis and oh God, the weird guy from Christmas Vacation, the cousin,
Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid. That's a great movie too.
Shitter's full.
So my last movie on my list is a fairly recent film, came out in 2019 rather. An Adam Sandler film, Mike, not a goofy, dumb comedy Adam Sandler, a Adam Sandler in a dramatic role Adam Sandler film, and a really, really good performance from Adam Sandler. The film's called Uncut Gems. It's about a man with gambling debts and with collectors closing in on him. He takes a risk on everything he has to stay afloat and stay alive by, basically just kind of trying to gamble his way out of things. Howard Ratner, a once successful New York gem dealer whose gambling addiction has left his family and career in shambles, and him hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Always looking for the next big bet, Howard thinks he finally has a big hit when he discovers a rare uncut opal from Ethiopia, the very interested high-profile buyer. But the closer Howard gets to finally winning big, the more he is forced to realize that he can't keep running from the consequences of his actions. It's a performance from Adam Sandler that actually had like Oscar nomination buzz behind it. That's how good his performance is in this film.
Oh, wow.
He actually came out and said, if I don't get an Oscar nom for this, I'm going to make the worst movie you've ever seen. So he did not get an Oscar.
Worse than Little Nicky?
Oh, yeah, he did not get the Oscar nom for this. So his follow-up film was a Netflix film called The Ridiculous Six, which was a very bad film. But I'll tell you what, like, for as goofy as he is in his comedy films and as how like one note some of his comedies are, when he decides to do a dramatic performance, he's really pretty good.
I will say I've liked a handful of his comedies, but the things he does as dramatic films, he's usually on point with.
Like Spanglish is a really good film. Punch Drunk Love. He did another one recently called The Hustler. I think it was called Hustle, where he plays a basketball like agent.
Is he an agent or is he a
he's a scout?
A scout.
He's a scout. Yeah, so he plays a scout in that film. That's a really good film too. This is a really good movie. It's a very tense film. The score has this like underlying beat to it that makes you kind of like anxious as you're watching it. So the film has this like sort of anxious feel the whole way through. It's funny that the high profile client that he has in the film is a real life basketball player, Kevin Garnett. The character was originally supposed to be played by Joel Embiid of the Sixers.
Well, he
but there was
probably got hurt and couldn't do it.
I think there was like a scheduling conflict or something or another, but yeah, he probably got hurt. So they got Kevin Garnett instead. But I'm telling you, it's an Adam Sandler you're not used to seeing if all you're used to is the goofy Adam Sandler. So that brings us to, you have anything to say there, Mike?
I'm not even used to that.
Yeah. That brings us to our wild card picks for the night. Our wild card picks could be anything you want it to be: TV show, movie, song, scene from a film, whatever it might be. So, Mike, what's your wild card pick for this evening?
My wild card pick is a clip from a specific movie, the Beatles' classic "A Hard Day's Night," where Paul McCartney's grandfather steals Ringo's invite to a fancy gambling hall and manages to win at Baccarat, despite having no money or much idea how to play the game.
I remember Hard Day's Night being like it's I think it's the first film the Beatles did, and it was filmed to look like a documentary almost.
Yep.
Like you're kind of following them around, so this is like an incidental moment in the film.
It was a funny moment in the film because
It is a funny moment in the film.
But a lot of comedy and running around for them in that movie.
So, Mike, I thought your wild card pick might have been the Gambler song from Kenny Rogers, but we've already sung that a few times tonight, so I'm guessing that kind of falls out of play. But we do have a song on our wild card list here.
I'm sorry.
Kevin's wild card pick is a song.
It's not what my wild card is.
Oh, it's not. I thought it was Poker Face from Lady Gaga.
No, but that would have been a good one too. No,
you have Poker Face. All you wrote is Poker Face, so I figured it was Lady Gaga.
True. No, I guess they should have put the TV show that's on Peacock.
Oh, that's the one with Natasha Lyonne.
Natasha Lyonne.
Yeah.
She plays a character named Charlie with an extraordinary ability to determine when someone is lying. She hits the road with her Plymouth Barracuda, and with every stop encounters a new cast of characters and strange crimes that she can't help but investigate. And the reason why I thought this was gambling oriented, aside from the name of the show, her character starts off working in a casino.
Mm-hmm.
And the owner of the casino takes note to her ability to tell when people are lying. She just needs to talk to them, and when they answer her, she can't determine what the truth is, but she can determine that they're lying about whatever it is that they're talking about. So she continues to investigate things, especially since in the beginning episode, her best friend is killed, and she looks into it a little bit further. So it starts off with the casino idea, but this is a very clever series. There's only 10 episodes. It's only one season so far. It also stars Benjamin Bratt, I should say, and Simon Helberg from The Big Bang Theory. It's on Peacock. It is done by Ryan Johnson, who did the Knives Out movies.
Oh, yeah.
It's really cleverly done.
I have to check this out.
Yeah, I think you should.
Plus, I like this rebirth of Natasha Lyonne too.
Mm-hmm.
Who disappeared for a while and all of a sudden is popping up in things again.
Man, each episode is interesting and fun. I
definitely have to check it out.
Yeah,
I'm looking for something new to watch. So this is a good recommend now. I'm so glad though that it wasn't the Lady Gaga Poker Face song. I didn't want to have to be the one to break it to you that song's really about sex. So my wild card pick. So my runner up for this is a scene from The Bronx Tale where they're playing dice they're playing dice in the back halls of this room, and it's a scene involving a guy called the Mush, who every time he walks into the room, bets go bad. And it's a really funny scene, but that's not what I wanted. That's how I ultimately ended up picking for my wild card. My wild card is one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation. It is a really silly, possibly dumb, out there episode that makes zero sense whatsoever, but goddamn, is it a fun episode?
It's a holodeck episode that's not on the holodeck.
Yeah, it's called. I keep calling it the Casino Royale episode, but I think it's called the Hotel Royale.
Yes, it's Hotel Royale.
Yeah, it's the Hotel Royale where, Worf, Data, and Riker head down to the surface of this planet to observe a structure that shouldn't really be there, to find out that it's an artificial structure created by these aliens as a way to make up for the fact that they killed these humans who accidentally landed on their planet. And it's a casino world that is based on a really poorly written cliche novel that the aliens mistaken for actual human culture. And the only way they're able to escape this hotel is to play along with the story till the very end.
And buy the hotel.
And buy the hotel. So you get a great gambling scene with Data playing craps. You get some like fun interactions with them and the cast of cliche characters. But I think my favorite scene in the episode is watching Picard squirm in his seat as he has to be forced to read this awful novel in order to figure out a way to save his crew. It is one of those like out there early episodes of Next Generation that I just fucking love.
Next Generation had a couple. I mean, it was a good go-to as an in-between the poker game that they frequently be playing.
I used to love the poker game scenes. Like, there's the one where Data's playing with Stephen Hawking and Einstein.
Yeah.
There's the final episode. The final episode
came later in the series, though. It
Mhm.
didn't start at the beginning.
No, but I mean, it's the thing they go back to from time to time. It's always like pretty entertaining.
Yeah,
like
the
final.
one where they keep playing the round and
Yeah.
they're like guessing as to what was happening. It was like deja vu.
It's the one where they're stuck in a loop where the Enterprise keeps blowing up.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they keep getting the same numbers every time. That's a good one. And the final episode where Picard sits down and plays poker with him for the first time
After
So,
7 years.
after 7
years.
seasons. Yeah, it's a cool go to in the Star
And then
Trek.
DS9 just went over the top and made Quarks, which was just a gambling fiasco.
Casino on the Deep Space Nine station. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, hey, when you have
So-
religion, you have gambling.
Yeah. So I got a few little like honorables to throw out there that we didn't have on our list. You have, I said before, you got The Gambler with James Caan and The Gambler with Mark Wahlberg, which is a remake of that film. The Card Counter with Oscar Isaac. We didn't have on this list. Two for the Money with Matthew McConaughey and Al Pacino. We mentioned The Hustler with Paul Newman, which was not on that list. But there's so many gambling films out there, you can't cover them all. So that's why we picked some of our favorites. But if there's anything out there that you think we missed or we should have paid a little bit more attention to, feel free to drop us an email or contact us on any of our socials to let us know what you think. Mike, do you have any beer trivia or beer history for us this evening?
I do. Just give me a second.
Take your time. We're not recording or anything.
No.
Sorry.
Well prepared.
No, I'm choking.
He was trying to down his drink.
This beer fun fact goes against everything Kevin believes. Better known than Irish red ales are Irish dry stouts such as Guinness and O'Hara's, which often have fewer calories than the paler beers such as Budweiser. That's mainly because dry stouts are brewed to have a lower alcohol content. Guinness is about 4.2% ABV, whereas Bud is 5%. Lower alcohol means fewer calories.
Well,
means you could drink more.
yeah. And I knew that Guinness had the lower caloric content. They promoted that a lot, actually, on billboards and such. But it's definitely, it tastes better than Bud. So
which goes against what you say. You say better high alcohol.
Well, it should.
So that being said, how were our drinks this evening, gentlemen?
Well, really? Yes,
Yeah.
mine was very good.
Yeah,
So
your beers?
I like these from Vermont. They were nice. Happy he brought them down for me. I always enjoy a new beer. Fiddlehead Mastermind Double IPA. I'm feeling it. I'll be honest, when I cracked open the Fest beer, it took me a minute. It had a aroma to it that I wasn't quite sure I wanted to drink, but it's tasty. So I think I'm feeling it.
All right. And then I had a 7 and 7 with ginger ale and one of my favorite bourbons, Mackenzie's from the Finger Lakes. And I drank it out of my mason jar here that I had 4 of, so I feel pretty good throughout the course of this episode. Okay.
Let's throw a new topic on the list.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us tonight for episode 147. You gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run.
That's my song about the laundry in the house. I always choose to walk away.
I forgot where I'm at. So yes, that was 147 movies about gambling, know when to hold them. So we hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Remember, you can shoot us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com. Let us know what you think about the episode, any movies we forgot, any direct recommendations you might have, or topics that you might want us to cover. Please, feel free to let us know what you think. You can also contact us on our socials. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you name it, we're there, including most recently Blue Sky social. You can find all of our links on linktree.com/filmsandfermentation. You can become part of our family by supporting us on Patreon or buying our merchandise at teespring.com or by going to the Den at the DeluxeEditionNetwork.com to visit us as well as all the other podcasts on the Den, including our podcasts of the month, Drink O'Clock, The Stephen Crypto Show, and Quad Pro Quo. Don't forget to stop by the crossroads between Pickled and Fermented for our next episode, episode 148. On this episode, we're going to be looking at obscure comic book movies. Not anything based on those Marvel and DC franchises that are ubiquitous, but things that you might not have realized were either based on comics or are just not really well known. That'll be next week's topic. And again, don't forget to join us on Tuesday, May 7th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time for our 150th episode live, where we'll be talking about the plot holes in the Star Wars franchise. Thanks again for joining us tonight, everybody. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
You've been listening to the Films and Fermentation podcast. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.